Hi, Melissa. We're here at your house in the woods in Tepoztlan, Morelos, Mexico. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, Don.
Yeah. Where did you come from and why did you move to Tepoztlan?
Well, originally I am from Mexico City. My father's Mexican and my mom's American. And I had been away for 25 years and I came back to Mexico and Tepoztlan called me. So I
Great,
ended up here.
great. What prompted you to buy land and build?
Well, actually, I was ready to leave Tepoztlan, but a friend of mine offered to sell me half of her property. So I thought it was a good investment. And before I knew it, I was building a house.
Wow. What was involved in actually purchasing the land?
Well, since a friend of mine sold the land to me and I knew that all her papers were in order, there's two different kinds of ways to buy land in Mexico. There's escrituras and there's una constancia de la comunidad. And here, usually when you live more in the woods, you do not have escrituras, you have constancia. So I went through a notary, I bought the land, and then I had to get my papers with los comuneros, and I was able to do that rather easily.
Good. I want people to understand that this is not typical of Mexico necessarily. It's different in different places.
That's correct.
And often it can be very horrendous and difficult for buying land.
That's correct. And you have to be very careful because a lot of times people will sell you land that's been resold several times. So you have to be very careful and make sure that the land that is being sold to you is being sold by the proper people and that the papers are in order. You have
Yeah.
to be very careful.
Yes.
I was lucky.
So please speak about the building process.
The building process, well, if you're going to build in Mexico, be very, very careful. It was a very long, drawn out business. I first had an architect who had been very recommended. After a few months of charging me a lot of money and not doing anything, I had to fire him. Then I had another architect that before I knew it was building, but the construction was so bad, I had to stop the construction. An engineer had to come, do a thorough analysis for 3 months, and it was difficult, but I was able to get some of my money back from that. Um, the problem with building in Mexico is that everybody will try to rob you. And there's many ways of robbing you in a construction. So it ended up costing almost 3 times what I thought it was going to cost because of all the money that was robbed. They can rob you in so many ways, and I had to fire many, many people. And finally, I was blessed and I found a great set of engineers that did a fabulous job. But before getting to these engineers, I had a lot of bad workers. They do a job, they do it wrong. So you have to pay somebody else to come and do the job, and then they don't do it right. So often you have to pay like 3 times for a job you thought you were going to pay only once. Um, it was some people I heard have even had nervous breakdowns building in Mexico. It was a great challenge. I recommend anybody that's going to build, you really need to make sure that you have a good team. Yes.
And this took you, the building took about 3 years, is that right?
Yes, it took about 3 years.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Well,
And I recommend if you can find a house that's already built, buy it. But before you do so, have a very good engineer go and check and make sure that the house is well done. Because one thing they have here in Mexico, they call them maquillistas, which basically means like makeup artist. So you see a house and it looks absolutely beautiful, but it's very well, very, very, very badly constructed. And then you have an earthquake or something happens and your house falls down. So if you're going to buy a house in Mexico, make sure a good engineer looks at it before you buy it. And if you're going to build, don't get an architect, get an engineer. I highly recommend that.
Thanks for all these hints. I'm sure people are interested in hearing about this, especially ones that might be considering doing the same. And I really appreciate this interview. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.